problem at all. Now, should we get that? Put a light on them? All right, well, good evening. We'll go ahead and get started here. It's 5:30. Welcome to the second night of many this week of our candidate forums and ballot initiative forums. We appreciate you being here. Your host this evening is the League of Women Voters of Washington County, and I proudly serve as your current president. My name is Michelle Walchuk. We're also a nonpartisan group, which means we do not endorse any candidate or party. We are, and your local league is also 100% volunteer powered. Our league has a really powerful mission statement. It's 4 words, and that is to empower voters and defend democracy. And there's 2 critically important ways that we fulfill that mission, and it's registering voters and hosting events like this for the voting public. I'd like to start off by thanking Glenda Patterson. She makes sure that these events occur and that they run smoothly and everybody's here and knows where to go. She tracks down every candidate to make sure they're invited and welcome to come and understand our process. So thank you, Glenda. And all the other league members here help us out tonight, so we have league members. I said this, yeah, there you go. Every presidential year, there's a lot of attention from the media on those federal level races, and rightly so, they're really important. But with all the focus on national races, we do need to remember and keep in mind that many of the issues that affect our daily lives are directly implemented with the guidance of our local and state government. So tonight, we're really proud to shine our spotlight on the local representation that we'd have from Washington County at the state level. When people come up to me and they ask why they should just bother voting because they feel their vote won't make a difference, I often think about rattling off some really gloomy statistics that we have in our state about our low voter turnout and our low registration, and then I kind of think, that might just prove their point. So instead, I like to ask them how they like their roads that they drive on every day. How do they feel about their local public school? Or even if they'd show up for one of their neighbors in need or need of help. And the answers to those reasons barely scratch the surface of why we need to vote in every election all the way down our ballot. I could go on and on. I'm a public school teacher here in Fayetteville, and I've taught in a few other states. And when I moved here and started teaching, I kind of thought about how no other state that I've taught in have I felt the state legislature in my daily classroom life as I do here in Arkansas. And so just from, budgetary things, the size of my classroom, my contracts, health of my retirement, my salary, all of those things, and it is because of our state government. And so I'm really appreciative to have all of these candidates here tonight. I could go on. My point is, once elected to our state legislature, our representatives play a vital role in the health and well-being of every Arkansan every day, whether they vote or not. So we need to choose. So we need to get a vote, and we need to choose in an informed way. So thank you to all the candidates for being here this evening. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you stepping up and running. And we appreciate you sharing with us how you plan to take care of us should you win your election. I want to point out that we've had, from our 6 districts that we've got here tonight, we reached out to every candidate, and they were all invited and encouraged to attend this evening. So again, thank you for spending your time with us tonight. Mr. Meeks is on his way here, flat tire issues. So once he shows up, if he gets here in time, we'll go ahead and usher him right down and just welcome him in. So if there's a little hubbub there, he's on his way. I want to thank all of you for attending in person or online, doing your part to be an empowered voter. When talking to friends or family members about this election, you feel free to direct them to our website. It's for the whole public, vote411.org. /Arkansas. You can find your Vote 411 will get you there. Thank you. You'll get a lot of information from candidates on your ballot. We've reached out to all of our candidates and asked them to answer questions so that way you could have a one-stop shop to get your questions answered. The recording of this live stream is also available to anyone, so candidates as well. Afterward, links can be found on our social media and the Fayetteville Public Library website. We plan to have a bit of time to mingle at the end as time allows. This is a candidate forum, not a debate, and our moderator will go into the details of that, but candidates will have equal time to answer each question, but not necessarily interact with each other or ask each other questions. Now, during the forum, if you think of a question that you'd like all candidates to answer, please write it down on an index card, and I'll kind of spread them out here in a little bit, and pass it down to the aisle, or you can send it back to myself, or back in the corner we've got Catherine, and we'll kind of weed through and make sure we don't have too many duplicates, but we'll pick them up and use them if time allows. Now, our moderator this evening is Katie Teague. She's with the U of A System Division of Agricultural Research and Extension Office, and we appreciate her work with us over the years. Thank you, Ms. Teague. I'll turn it over to you to get us all started.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Again, it's a privilege to be here. I enjoy working with the League of Women Voters. Sure appreciate what you do. Again, Extension's the same way, where we just want to empower folks with knowledge, understand, and encourage them to get engaged in the process. So it's a privilege to be here. As Michelle mentioned, this will be the setup, and I think I mentioned to most of the candidates here, but we'll start just with a 1-minute introduction. They get to tell you a little bit about themselves, and then we'll go in and I'll begin asking questions. Each candidate will get 3 minutes to answer. Glenda here is your timekeeper, so she has her your warnings and your stop, and if she comes up, she's not afraid to take your mic. So she does a great job as timekeeper. I appreciate that. We will rotate who asks the question first, so nobody's in the hot seat too much, and you get a chance to think and maybe bounce ideas off one another. So with that, we're going to begin the questions. My glasses, of course. Oh, yeah, introductions, that's right. All right, so first, with District 9, which covers Northeast Springdale, Ms. Diana Gonzalez-Worthen, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? Thanks.
Hello there, I'm Diana Gonzalez-Worthen. I'm running for District 9, State House, and...
Oh, everybody might need to do that. Probably easier, I think we just kept them on last night, so thanks.
Hello, my name is Diana Gonzalez-Worthen, and I am running for State House District 9, which is East Springdale. It is the most diverse district in the entire state, and there are 54 languages spoken in the school district. In District 9, we have 14 of those schools in the district. Majority of them are Title I schools. However, because of the diversity, we have so much to, so many opportunities for our diverse families. I have been a teacher now for 35 years. Most of my work in the last 17 years has been training teachers, assisting them in earning their English as a second language endorsement on their teaching license, and also I'm a teacher educator. I do that at the University of Arkansas. I have both public school experience as well as institution of higher ed experience. I enjoy working with teachers, and thank you.
We'll hear more.
Yes.
Thank you. Up next, District 22, representing North Springdale, is Ray Hernandez. Ray, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I'm in District 11.
Oh.
My name is Ray Hernandez, and I'm a transplant. I'm originally a Tex-Mex, and I'm now Argentino. I came to Arkansas in 1969. I met a beautiful lady in the United States Marine Corps. We were both serving, and we decided to get married in Arkansas. When I retired from the Marine Corps, 20 years later, we decided to live in Northwest Arkansas because we really love this part of the state. I have watched this area grow over the last 35 years of my residency and have watched it blossom from a very homogeneous sort of place to a place that has a great deal of diversity. And when I used to do diversity talks in the past, I would mention to people that the one thing that I know would improve was the quality of the Mexican food being served here. Have worked as an educator at the community college at the University of Arkansas, and I am currently working at the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences. I do facilitating for parenting classes. I've also worked in healthcare.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hernandez. From District 18 is West Fayetteville and includes Elm Springs. Justin Meeks is here this evening.
He's not here yet.
Oh, gosh, I have things, sorry, everything is, I didn't keep up with my, Billy, yep, yeah, I was keeping in order of my districts. Billy, we appreciate you being here, you're District 19, that covers, Johnson and some of West Springdale. Can you share with us a little bit?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the Fayetteville Library and to the League of Women Voters of Washington County for putting on this forum. Thank you for your work in engaging voters in our democracy. My name is Billy Cook, and I'm running to represent you in State House District 19, which covers Northeast Fayetteville, Johnson, and South Springdale. I'm a lifelong Northwest Arkansan. Grew up pretty poor in this area, raised in part by my grandparents, and so I understand what it means to struggle and have to get by. In my day job as a nonprofit leader in the anti-poverty space, I focus on housing and renters issues, and I work every day with people in unsafe and unlivable conditions in their rentals to try to deliver solutions that work for them. Now, I decided to run because I feel like we need people in our state house that are working for working people, and we need to send people down to Little Rock that are going to put the interests of everyday Arkansans at the top of their priority list. I'm running to protect our right to a transparent government and restore our freedom of information laws. I'm a product of Gravette Public Schools, and I'm running to protect our public school system, and I'm running to guarantee safe and healthy housing for the 1 in 3 Arkansans who are renters. This district was decided by 646 votes last time. Keep an eye on it.
Billy, thank you very much. Up next is District 24, covers rural chunk of Washington County down south and southwest, and this is Ryan Inchusby.
Hi, my name is Ryan Inchosby. I live in Rudy, Arkansas. I'm running for District 24 State Representative. I have lived all over the country. I was raised in poverty by parents that were very young and addicted to drugs. I was able to join the military and did a full career, 24 years in the U.S. Navy. Started out as combat search and rescue, ended up as nuclear command and control flight engineer. I've been able to earn an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, and a master's degree, a master's of business management. I'm running because I've retired from the military, and I see our civil liberties being stripped away from people on a daily basis. I see books being censored in libraries. I see people losing their autonomy to their bodies, and I'm coming out of retirement. This is not what I did an entire career in the military to support, so I'm going to make sure that Americans have their constitutional rights, and I'm not going to stop until that happens. That's it.
Appreciate it.
You're right.
Next, we have District 25, again, southern Washington County, also out east. Another chunk of rural is Caitlin Oxford.
Hello, I'm Caitlin Tannehill Oxford, and I am running for House District 25. I have eastern Washington County, eastern Crawford County, all the way down into Franklin County. It is a long, skinny district, all rural, and I want to work for the rural people. The rural people do not really have a voice in Little Rock right now. I'm running against my opponent because he is just a rubber stamp for Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and I don't think that is right. People need a choice, and they need someone who will work for them. I have 2 farms. My husband and I, we have a farm in Goshen and Elkins. We have 5 children. I have 2 granddaughters, a brand new one. It's great. I love spending time with them, but I also want them to have a good future. And it looks a little dark right now with some of the things that are going on. And my daughter is here tonight, and I'm very happy that she was able to come because it just shows that she cares too. And I want to see our younger people care because they haven't had much to care about lately, and now they do. I also want to fight for public schools. My mother, and I'm done.
And more on that later. Yeah, that's fine. Again, we appreciate you all so much, and RA just giving us a sense and a flavor of things that are important to you. So we'll get started with the questions. Again, reminder, we have 3 minutes, and then Glenda will show you your 1-minute warning, your countdown to start wrapping things up. So we'll just start. Legislative authority and responsibilities of the Arkansas House of Representatives includes, of course, passing bills on public policy matters. Let's start, Ms. Gonzalez-Worthen. If elected, what will be your top 3 legislative priorities?
to pay attention to ensuring that our teachers are paid, their staff that support them are paid well, for example, paraprofessionals. Also, we have a shortage of teachers, especially multilingual teachers and special education teachers. You can find openings in those positions in practically every school district. I will pay attention to that. Additionally, I'm very concerned about working families where moms want to go to work, but they're not able to because of the cost of childcare. If we had more pre-K classrooms, we could place more kids into those pre-K classrooms, and mom could go back to work and bring more money into the home. And the other area, because we do have working families, and in working families, they need sometimes they need assistance with their kids in terms of placing them in after-school care, quality care, summer programs. With Arkansas's rate of children not being able to read on grade level, those are some very wonderful opportunities to help increase their skill set after school and during the summertime with fun and enrichment programs that include literacy and STEM. Those are the main ones. Additionally, in health, we rank 45th in health in the nation. We need to provide more access to health care, including mental health care. So those would be mostly education, being that I have 35 years in education, that's what I know. But at the same time, I've had to work with a lot of parents, a lot of families, diverse families, and in doing so, it's allowed me to be able to converse with the majority of District 9 is Latino families. We have a lot of Latino families, and so it's been wonderful to be able to converse with them in Spanish when needed. And so having a legislator that has that experience in education and in higher education, and also providing pathways to help our workforce, for example, growing our own teachers, which we have a lot of paraprofessionals and others that live in the community that want to become teachers, but they need innovative pathways. And so with my background in school, I feel that I can help with that. Additionally, I'm a co-founder of 2 nonprofits where I've worked with a lot of families and have helped to provide college opportunities there as well. And so in a nutshell, with my education background, education, healthcare, mental health care, and those are all of the areas that I would really like to work towards.
We appreciate that. Thank you very much. Mr. Hernandez, so same question. If elected, what would be your top 3 legislative priorities?
When I get elected, I want to make a correction to what's been going on a dozen or more years. The Republican Party has been in charge of the legislature for more than a dozen years, and yet we sit at the bottom 5 of things like health care, workforce quality. Microphone, sorry. So we sit at the bottom of areas like healthcare, education, workforce quality, and those are the 3 areas that I want to concentrate on. I was the executive director for the Workforce Justice Center here in Northwest Arkansas. We fought for wages for those that got paid the least. And what I saw was that there was an opportunity to fix our pay system in the state. Number 1, we have a minimum wage. Fortunately, it has climbed from 7.25 up to where it is now. But in doing so, it also left a lot of people behind, because those who sat just above minimum wage didn't get a wage increase. So the first thing I'm going to do is fight to create a living wage for Arkansans rather than a minimum wage. We don't want to keep Arkansans at a minimum. We want them all thriving. So whenever there's going to be a wage increase for the minimum wage, there will also be an equal wage increase for every hourly worker with companies that are over 500 employees or more. Secondly, healthcare. Healthcare used to be second on my list, but it's moved up to first, because when they started attacking women's autonomy, I raised $3, by the way, it rubbed me the wrong way. I've worked in healthcare as a security officer, and I've worked in healthcare in the clinical setting for a chiropractic office and a physician. And what I saw was that it's not only painful to have to worry about what you're paying for and wondering whether you've got insurance coverage and wondering whether or not somebody's going to be there that speaks your language. These are all areas that could be addressed and help us move from 45th up the scale. And finally, education. I am involved with LULAC. LULAC is a large organization, largest in the country for supporting Latinos, and one of our areas of interest in not only Northwest Arkansas but nationally is creating an opportunity for higher education for Latinos. What we have done in Arkansas, we've raised over $1 million statewide so that Latino students could go to college and have that kind of access. And we've done that over the last 20 years. In Northwest Arkansas, we produced $750,000 of that access for students. And it gives them an opportunity to seek and do better than what their parents did who brought them here, or maybe who hope for them a better life than they have for themselves. So, I'm done.
Thanks for being so respectful on the time. That was nice. Mr. Cook, same question. If elected, what would be your top 3 legislative priorities?
Yes. So first and foremost, I believe the job of a state representative is to represent the people who live in your district. And so we've knocked over 4,000 doors in House District 19 and had an awful lot of conversations with people, and I've been privileged to have a lot of those myself. And so I've worked to orient my priorities with the priorities of the people who live in my district. And so people tell me that they're worried about public education. I've talked to a lot of teachers and retired teachers on their front porches who worry that our public schools are being defunded and that teachers no longer have protections against termination. A lot of people have talked to me about rising costs and inflation, the rising costs of rent, of groceries, of every service and utility that they have, so we need to find ways to drive costs down. People are worried about housing. Whether you're a renter, rents are going up, and because we have some of the worst landlord-tenant laws in the country, you don't have any protections against mold or roaches, or when your landlord won't fix your AC or your central heat. And when you're a homeowner on housing, I've talked to people who tell me that they wouldn't be able to afford the homes they live in now if they tried to move in there today because the values of those properties have skyrocketed. Beyond that, people don't trust the government, especially a one-party state government where there are no checks and balances in any office down in Little Rock. People are worried about government transparency. They are worried about our freedom of information laws being gutted. And, you know, philosophically, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or not independent or you've never voted before, you have a right to access public records. And as a taxpayer, you have a right to know how your money is being spent. We can argue all day about what to spend our money on, but knowing what the money is being spent on is the important part. And so I would sum that up with the economy, housing, inflation, public schools, and ensuring that we have strong schools to send our kids to for future generations, and then government transparency and fighting rampant corruption that we see coming out of Little Rock. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Mr. Inchauspé, so same question. If elected, what would be your top 3 legislative priorities?
Yes. So if elected, my top priority is personal autonomy. And the personal autonomy, it goes beyond just a woman's right to choose. I'm talking personal autonomy, government out of your business. Stop censoring books. Stop telling people how to live their lives. Stop trying to legislate your version of morality on people. Let people live their lives themselves and pursue their bit of happiness in whatever way they deem that way to be, as long as they're not damaging other people or, you know, our public policies or, you know, our public stuff or whatever, all that stuff. Second is education for me. Right now in this state, a good number for a school of students that are reading at grade level is 39%. That's terrible. That's horrible. We have students that are not learning, they're not learning basically anything. Margaret Mead told us to teach children how to think, not what to think. One of the things that we need to be doing is teaching children and people just how to observe and come about the world around them, how to make sense of what they see in the world around them, so that people don't fall victim to things like misinformation and fake news in the first place. Another thing that I have a big priority for is our first responders, whether it's police fire departments, all stuff. In the state of Arkansas, 70% of our firefighters are unpaid. That's statewide. If you go into a rural district like mine, yours, that's 99%. Most of our firefighters are completely unpaid. Most of our paramedics, unpaid. Our police, our starting salary is $29,000 a year in these rural districts. What type of individuals do we get for $29,000 a year starting salary? And then what type of education are they receiving? Are these police officers receiving education in civil rights and civil liberties and how to police and how to do things for themselves? One of the things that I do is I'm a curriculum developer. I work as a government contractor, and I use my degrees to write educational materials. I write educational materials for law enforcement so that they know how to do things like inspect a semi on the highway. And these are essential services that we need to protect, but we need to make sure that they're protecting the people that they're there to serve. We don't need any more government interaction in people's personal lives, period. So those are my top 3 priorities. Priority 1, personal bodily autonomy. Priority 2, education for everybody. And priority 3 is our first responders and making sure that they serve our state and our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Tannehill Oxford, same question, your top 3 legislative priorities.
My top 3, education is number 1. My mother was a school teacher for 28 years. She taught in rural districts, she taught in big districts. She saw so many different children who had different ways of learning. We cannot just tie them to a test score. We have to actually teach the children as they learn. The problem with being in rural districts is right now the state pays part of the teacher pay raise. That stops next year. These rural schools will close or be underfunded, and the kids will not get the education they deserve. They'll be riding on a bus for hours if their school closes. That's not okay for kids. It's not okay for the teachers that will lose their jobs either. Along with the Fair Dismissal Act that was canceled with this LEARNS Act. So anybody can say a teacher did something and they get fired. They have no recourse. That is not okay. These teachers are there pouring their heart and soul into our kids, and they deserve the respect from the community to back them. I also think that we need to have increased pay for the staff, paraprofessionals, and bus drivers. They were not included in the LEARNS Act. They need to have a livable wage. They do not right now. Also working to find solutions for quality health care and just accessible health care. My daughters and I have fought for months trying to make sure they have health care in the state. Emma turned 19. They cut her off from ARKids, so we had to find another solution. It's ridiculous the amount of hoops you have to jump to just to be able to go to the doctor, just to be able to afford to go to the doctor. That has been crazy, just having health issues myself this year. And just working to make sure that your government is working for you. The government works for the people, not the people work for the government. And that's been a big shift in Arkansas lately where they're just pushing things through and they're not working for us. The government is supposed to work for the people and help the people. And right now we're not being taken care of like the government should be working to help us. Those are my top 3. Public education, because I am very scared that a lot of rural districts will close. Working to find solutions for quality and accessible health care for all Arkansans, regardless of age, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of anything. Sex, doesn't matter. Just get that quality health care for everybody, and working to make sure your government is working for you. Those are my top 3.
Thank you all. So Mr. Hernandez, we'll put you up first this go round. While the districts vary greatly in land size, based on the 2020 census, each House district has an average population of just over 30,000 people. So how do you plan to engage with and be accountable to your constituents while you're in office?
Well, it is a challenge. My district encompasses downtown Springdale, but it also takes in Beaver Lake and Benton County and all that rural area and everything in between. I think I have a distinct advantage because I am a cattle rancher, because I am a veteran, and because I'm, quite frankly, old. So I can communicate better with those areas of my constituency, whereas maybe someone else might not have that opportunity. I am also Latino, and 30% of my constituency are Latinos, and I think it is unfair that we have a government that has no Latino representation in the House of Representatives. We've been here for over 35 years. I know that personally because I've seen it, and there's no reason why there shouldn't be representation for that. I have been out knocking doors. I've been making phone calls. I've got a mailer that's about ready to go out. I learned all about TikTok and Instagram. So forgive me if my stuff looks a little bit rough that I'm putting out there, but you know.
I bet your kids and grandkids are proud.
But I am out there, and if you want to know what I'm thinking, just watch me on TikTok, and you'll know it. And I'm also speaking to organizations. I'm happy that you invited me here. I'm happy to have an opportunity to get in front of any audience, to give them an opportunity to understand that being a representative for Springdale, Lowell, and the southern part of Benton County means that you have to be a person who understands not only all the cultures and diversity that lives in there, but you also have an understanding of what those folks are going through on a day-to-day basis. I've been a business owner, so I understand what business feels like, how much pressure there is on you. And so when I talk about creating a living wage, I'm going to give the people who are brand new business owners an opportunity to grow it to at least 500 employees before they have to start taking on that extra burden of cost. So my outreach has been about telling the story, getting to those places and explaining to people that this is their only opportunity that we're going to have in a long time probably to actually elect someone who looks like what our district looks like.
Thank you. So, Mr. Cook, same question. With over 30,000 constituents, how do you plan to engage them and be accountable to them while you're in office?
Yes, House District 19 covers 4 different cities, Fayetteville, Johnson, Springdale, and Taneytown. That's a wide range of viewpoints that you have in one district, a wide variety of races and ethnicities and religious affiliations and political beliefs, let me tell you. And we've knocked over 4,000 doors from one end of this district to the other. A lot of those doors I've knocked personally because most folks never get the chance to meet somebody who's on their ballot personally. And I ask every person I come across in the district, what issues are important to you? What do you want me to know as someone who might be working for you? Or what do you want to see from your state government? And most people are flabbergasted that somebody's willing to not only knock on their door, but ask them what's important to them instead of give them a grand speech. And in addition to that, I have left my personal cell phone number on those thousands of doors, and I'm about to mail out my personal cell phone number to thousands of voters because I believe in transparency. I believe if you're going to be working for the public, you need to be reachable by the public and accessible. Beyond that, I really believe in constituent service. I have sat with people and helped them, release their apartments. I've sat with people and listened to their concerns and their struggles, Republicans and Democrats who, actually are going through the same things. They're having the same financial struggles and the same worries. I've sat with people on their porches for 30, 45 minutes as they've told me their life stories, and we build relationships. And when people call me, I answer, and I pick up my phone. When people email me, I respond as quickly as possible. If I'm not asleep, I will respond. Sending out my phone number might seem a little bit extreme. My phone might be like a call center as we get closer to the election. But I believe that's important as someone that's going to be serving the public. I'm just going to say it. I showed up here tonight, and that's important. Showing up to functions and being accountable to the public, no matter how large the audience is important. And so my philosophy is that I already want to run and work as though I'm already representing these folks. The only difference come November 5th will just be a title change. So thank you.
Thanks very much. Mr. Inchapi?
Yes, well, much like the rest of the people up on this table, we plan on using outreach the same way. Electronic means is technology is what it is. We have websites, we have email addresses, we have phone numbers, we have hotlines, we have all those things. I'd also like to go so far as to put something along the lines of billboards, like, do you have a problem with your state? Call this number. Complain to this person. Right now, one of the problems that we have with our constituents is they feel like government doesn't care about them, so they don't even participate in government. They don't ask questions. They don't send emails. They don't send letters. They don't make phone calls. Most people can name all the Kardashians but have no idea who's on the Supreme Court. So, it's one of these issues. I'm one of these people that I don't stop. I don't quit. I don't ever take a break. I don't ever falter until I achieve my goal. It's just something built into me. I can't make myself stop. And so when I get a constituent that tells me that they have an issue, and that issue becomes my issue, that issue becomes something that I believe in, because it's a real issue. Education, healthcare, these are real issues. These are issues that I care about, and not only do I show up, and not only do I listen to these issues, I plan on taking them on head on. I plan on not just, keeping my head down for that first year in office and trying to learn the ropes. I plan on shaking things up. I plan on making people nervous about not doing their jobs. I plan on holding people accountable. I plan on shining a bright light on the inner workings of what's going on in the government you're being taxed to provide for you. I plan on making enemies. I've got enough friends, So I'm not a great politician. I haven't knocked on a lot of doors, but good thing for me, I live in a very rural district, and rural people don't want people knocking on their doors anyway, So I'm one of those people that I'm here, I'm ready to start. You can either help, or you can get out of my way, or you can become a target. But I'm going to run through you. I'm going to run past you. I'm going to use your assistance. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to accomplish the goals for my constituents in my community. And I already listen to what they've got to say. They're tired. They're tired of not being heard. They're tired of parties not caring about rural America at all, period. They're angry. So am I. So here I am. Hopefully you're ready for me, because Little Rock is in for a rude awakening. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Tannehill Oxford, same thing of just, how do you plan to engage with and be accountable to your constituents if you're elected?
Well, like Billy, my cell phone number is out there for everybody. They can call me any time of day. I do not care. I'll even wake up in the middle of the night and talk to them. I've knocked on doors in the very rural spots. I've knocked on doors in neighborhoods. And let me tell you, when you get a hold of somebody and they're like, I have never, ever had anybody knock on my door before and talk to me and ask me what I'm feeling and what my concerns are. It is one of the greatest feelings in the world to be able to just sit down and talk to them about it. I was telling Doug earlier in our interview, I was like, the best thing about running for office is the people I've met along the way. Because I wouldn't have met them before if I hadn't said yes when Lou dragged me into this. But it has been just one of the biggest blessings of my life to do this and to give people a voice that they've never had before, especially in the rural areas like Ryan and I are running in. Those people have never had a voice. Their representatives are just doing whatever they want down there. They just don't have anything. And they're tired. They're tired. They're poor. They're tired. They can't afford food for their families. While we're worried about, lecterns and everything else, but there are people who literally cannot afford food for their families, cannot pay their electric bill. And those are their concerns. Not about the fluff that goes on in the media. What is happening in their homes? Their children going to school and having a quality education, not just a defunded education. That's what they want. They want their kids to have a good education. They want their kids to succeed in life. And I, again, have an open door policy. Everybody is welcome in my home. If I meet somebody on the street, I'm always going to say hi. I don't care who they are, Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. I have many Republicans who are going to vote for me just because they know me. because I put myself out there. I'm in the community all the time. I'm at farmers markets. I'm in the schools. I see these people everywhere I go. And the postcards that we sent out, I told this story earlier. 25 years I hadn't heard from this girl that I graduated with. She lives in Tokyo, Japan. She came back to visit her mother and got one of the handwritten postcards from our volunteers. And she sent in her absentee ballot and sent me a message and told me she was voting for me because I care. And that's what I want to make sure everybody knows is I care. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure I can help the people in my district. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gonzalez Worthen, same question. Those 30,000 people, how do you plan to engage and be accountable to them while you're in office?
It has been, as they have mentioned, all of my colleagues here have mentioned, it's been wonderful knocking on doors and going back when they're not home. And when you go back, just for example, just this past Sunday, a woman, she said, yes, I received your literature, and I was just so surprised that somebody actually came all the way up my driveway out in the country to leave some literature on my door. And so that's what it takes. You know, every voice matters, and I want to make sure that everybody is heard and what is on their mind. The ways that I plan on keeping engaged with my constituents, bilingual literature, all of my literature is bilingual. Because District 9 is the most, it's the only Latino majority district in the state, and because of that, there's a lot of voter education and a lot of education just in general that people need, that people are learning about. We have a lot of new citizens, and in doing so, that's wonderful that we have a lot of new citizens. They know they can vote, but they didn't know they had to register to vote. So those are some like little intricacies there that sometimes we take for granted in our community. And so, you know, having step-by-step plans on planning to vote, how to make your voting plan, having step-by-step, being an ESL educator and having a lot of immigrants and in a diverse community. I'm very familiar with what one needs to do to make sure that your message is heard and that they understand. Of course, the other is si hablo español, no es mi primer idioma, pero si hablo español. And whenever I can knock a door and I'm talking to my constituents, I mean, it has been awesome because they hadn't had anyone knock on their door, first of all, and then somebody that can also speak Spanish. And another way in which I plan on keeping everyone engaged is by radio. That's probably one of the #1 media outlets, and trying to be on the radio and just keeping people engaged that way. We have already seen success in that. Text messages, social media, especially Facebook, and when you do that, you can place Facebook messages in multiple languages. A lot of people are tuned in to Facebook. As a co-founder of 2 nonprofits, I'm very much engaged with the nonprofit sector in our area, and so I'm very familiar, you know, with, for example, the Marshallese nonprofit, ACOM or MEI. Additionally, Arkansas Advocates, for example, just trying to stay on top of policy issues, making sure that these issues are, you know, that we all understand what's going on and that these are issues that are coming forth to the table. Businesses as well, just going into businesses, so the one-on-one has been very wonderful. Thank you.
Again, thank you all. Mr. Cook, we'll start with you this go-round, and it's been mentioned several times that partisan divides can certainly stymie innovation and progress. How would you plan to work across party lines to build consensus and advance legislation in the legislature?
That's a really good question. So a lot of the issues that we've discussed tonight, you know, education and healthcare and housing, community engagement, they are not partisan issues. A lot of people are experiencing the same problems. They can't make their mortgage, they can't make their rent, they can't afford groceries, and that's something that transcends the party boundary. So first and foremost, I am willing to work with anyone and everyone to get these priorities done. I am always willing to compromise on issues, but I won't compromise my values. What does that mean? I believe we need strong, well-funded public schools, People need to be able to live in housing that is not unhealthy and unsafe, and people have a right to government transparency. And those are some pretty basic issues that, you know, a couple decades ago, a lot of people tended to agree more on. So, you know, bridging the partisan divide is going to start with conversations. It's going to be bringing people across the aisle, but also, you know, there may, depending on how the math winds up in Little Rock, if we all go down to Little Rock and add to that 18 Democrats that are in the House now, we might be able to get more done in terms of legislative priorities, because right now the Republicans hold a supermajority in our state House and our state Senate. And so unless they give us the consent, really, we as a party are unable to get our priorities through. And so that's why it's important to elect candidates to restore balance instead of just having a one-party state, because with balance comes bipartisan action. And with bipartisan action, we can talk about housing. We can talk about funding our public schools and providing quality health care. We can talk about bodily autonomy. We can talk about all of these things on an equal footing. So I think part of ensuring a bipartisan environment and atmosphere in our state government is going to come from restoring balance in state government. Right now, we only have one party that controls all of the constitutional offices, both of the chambers of our legislature, and you know, we have a conservative-leaning Supreme Court. So first things first, vote on November 5th, elect more people to restore balance, and then we can get some more of these bipartisan priorities accomplished.
Thank you. Mr. Inchauspé. Same question. How do you plan to work across party lines to build consensus and advance legislation in the legislature?
Well, my background is in the military. You know, I joined the military at 19. I joined in 1995. I retired in 2020. I've never been, when I was a senior enlisted person, and I was enlisted, I wasn't an officer. So I was one of those people that had to go to college while I was in the military and do those types of things. As a senior enlisted person, we would have meetings to decide who got what sailors in their departments every year. And in those meetings, I did not care. I did not care which sailors you gave me, which ones, you know, what their colors were, their creeds, their religions, their sexual identities, or any of that stuff, whether or not they were hard workers, whether or not they were easy workers, because I am skilled at bringing the best out of people and making teams work together. I'm also good at getting people to do those things that they don't want to do. And I'm not talking about barking at orders and screaming at people and doing things like this, but it's about building relationships, knowing how to talk to people, knowing how to get people to realize that your position is the correct position. I don't want yes men around me. I'm not a yes person. I'm not one of these people that's going to vote party lines just because I'm part of a party. I'm going to vote the way my conscience is, the way my values are, the way the Constitution says. I'm not going to support a plan or do something to sabotage a plan just because it's not my plan or just because it's not my party's plan. I'm going to work with anybody who's willing to work and get anything done. And anybody who's not willing to work or is just going to be a saboteur or is going to be an obstructionist, I'm willing to call them to the carpet. I'm willing to stand up and say, you, sir, are lazy and worthless, and your constituents deserve better, whomever that may be. I'm not here to win friends and influence people. I guess I am here to influence people, but I'm not here to win friends. I'm here to get things done. I want to go back and I want to retire. And I want to retire in my homestead, in my state, in my beautiful place in Northwest Arkansas, in my rural community, and I want to retire knowing that my children are going to grow up with the same freedoms and liberties that I grew up with, and that their children are going to experience those same freedoms and liberties, and that they are all going to be given education, and they're going to be treated safely. They're going to be able to have housing. They're going to be able to live full and productive lives without a government taking out their feet from below, below the ankles or whatever. I'm tired of all of this government interaction into people's lives. And I'm here to make government do its job or face the consequences, i.e., you don't work, you get fired. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Tannehill Oxford, again, the challenge
Sorry, I'm
of
not
partisan divide. How do you plan to work across party lines to build consensus and advance legislation in the legislature?
Well, there's this old saying, and it comes true all the time: we are more alike than we are different. And as long as you keep that in the forefront of your mind, people are experiencing the same things. They're hungry. They can't pay their bills. They live in awful housing. I've seen pictures from Billy's going into apartment complexes, and it's horrendous. And it doesn't matter what political affiliation you are, you need help. You need your government to help you. The government should not be controlling everything, but they should be there to help the people that they are serving. And again, they are serving. But the divisiveness that I see all the time, if you even get on social media, you're gonna see divisiveness. You're gonna see this side saying something and this side saying something. And we just have to get back towards that middle ground to be able to accomplish things and, yes, have a more balanced government. Because right now, yeah, the House, the Senate, and our quorum court is all supermajority Republican, and we can't get anything done because they just push everything through. We have to have that balance. And again, I hope you decide to vote for myself and my friends up here, because these people are working hard. They're working hard for everybody. Doesn't matter who their constituents are, what political affiliation they are, how rich they are, how poor they are. They're up here working for everybody. And they will continue to work hard in Little Rock. All of us will, because that's us. We care. Our hearts are there, and we want to be able to help these people regardless. Like I said, everybody is more alike than they are different. It doesn't matter. And we should be willing, as a state, to help those people and to take care of everyone. And help with housing, help with food, help with health care, help with education. Everybody should have the same level playing field. And I will throw this out there. So the LEARNS Act, and a lot of kids come to me to get community service hours, because public school kids have to have community service hours in order to graduate from high school. It's a requirement. Private schools do not. That is not a level playing field, even to start with. So that is my 2 cents on that, but I'm done now. Thank you.
Ms. Gonzalez-Worthen, same question. How do you plan to work across party lines to build consensus and advance legislation through the legislature?
As a public school educator, I've worked with thousands of students and thousands of families of all sorts. And one of the things that I have found, and for me, is as I get to know the family, get to know them, build the relationship, find out what it is that we can work on together, then generally we can move forward. So, for example, getting to know a legislator that may not necessarily see a worldview a little bit different because they've not really thought about that. I really love being able to bring different perspectives to the table, and oftentimes people will say, you know, I never really thought about that angle. And so just trying to have those different perspectives, and I myself wouldn't have to do that, just me, myself, and I, but just with the nonprofit sector, all of those individuals that are filling gaps in the community that need to be filled to help families, help the schools, help our elderly, and then finding out the issues at hand. For example, my daughter has anxiety or depression, or I can't work because I need childcare and I can't afford childcare. So bringing all of those to light, oftentimes we can start the conversation of how can we work together to help build something, so not only will that mom be able to afford childcare and go back to work and bring more income to her family, but at the same time, that's going to help grow our economy. And so I think just looking at it from that point of view, getting to know one another, building those relationships, finding our common ground, finding out the issues at hand, we can all work together on that. And so I coach teachers as they're learning how to work with different types of students, especially in my case, teachers who are being trained to work with English learners, or teachers who are being trained to work with different cultural different cultures within their school. Oftentimes, for me, I always go back to something that I strongly believe in, and I believe this to my heart, and that is what Paulo Freire says, that the role of the progressive educator is to unveil opportunities for hope, no matter what the obstacles may be. I really try to turn those challenges and obstacles and try to find a way around them. And for me, it's about having people that I know that have experienced those challenges, bringing them to the table, getting their voices on the table, and then working to build something together. And so that we have it as a team versus just one against the other. And so I have been able to do that throughout my life, and that's what I'm hoping to take to the state legislature.
Super, thank you. Mr. Hernandez, same question, overcoming the partisan divide.
Overcoming the partisan divide, and by turning on your microphone. Well,
It's a step in the right direction.
I have actually faced a partisan issue when I was in the quorum court of Benton County. As the Justice of the Peace, I was the only Democrat that they'd seen in even 3 decades or more. And I was also the only Latino that they had seen forever in the quorum court in Benton County. Being an individual, you wouldn't think that I would be able to wield much power in that situation, but I was lucky. I was representing District 2. So that means I had the second seat when it came time to take a vote. And I have a way of making very powerful information get out to the people that need to hear it. My Navy comrade down here will explain to you that when you're a senior NCO, you have to be that buffer between the officers and the generals and the men, and make sure that that information flows properly. So I've got the experience to be able to bring up an issue and eloquently tell my fellow justices why they should listen to my point of view. And then when it comes time for a vote, if somebody's voting yes, I could vote no. And my no would influence some of my other JPs to think about what I had told them and follow that cue. That doesn't mean that I was such a great person or did such a terrific job, but I'm not afraid to speak up, and I'm not afraid to come forward with what needs to be done. I'm going to tell you about an experience that I had a long time ago. About 30 years ago, we were fighting for some Latino rights, and we went down to the Capitol. And I faced off with a Republican representative down there, and he said, "We are not going to give driver's license to all of these immigrants coming into the country." And I said to them, "Well, you might feel safe driving out on a road where there are people that are unlicensed operating a motor vehicle, but I don't. I think we should give everyone a license. I think we should find out where they live, and that address should be on their license, and I think they should have insurance." And when he thought about that, he said, "Oh, you're right." I said, "That's right. You're cutting off your nose to spite your face, so don't do it." And then I also had to take on the legislature when I was trying to get a law passed. My daughter was killed in a car wreck, and I was trying to get some rights for parents of an adult who was killed in a car wreck. And trust me, it is not a fun game down there, but I was able to persuade them to listen to me. I couldn't get it out of committee, but at least they listened to me, and they understood that I was serious, and that's the way I'm going to approach it when I go down there. I'm going to bring it to them in the language they can understand, in their conservative language, so that they'll know when I start talking, I'm talking about conserving their tax dollars as well as mine.
Excellent, thank you all. Ladies, before we go on, are there questions? Are you working on that? Okay. So I'd much rather make sure the voices in the room are heard, get their questions answered. Yeah, before I launch into something else. It's all good, thank you. Well, we appreciate you all engaging, this is good, so we'll switch it up here, so, make sure I'm in line here. Mr. Inchauspy, yep, okay. So there are many committees that you as representatives would be serving on if you're elected. How would you prepare for some of these? And so some examples, and how would you serve? Ag, Insurance and Commerce, Judiciary, Revenue and Taxation, Public Health and Welfare, Communication and Technology, City Council, Local Affairs. So it may just be, you know, what committees would you be interested, and then what would you bring to that?
Primarily, I'm interested in judiciary, public welfare. These are the committees that speak the loudest to me because I grew up poor and in poverty. I grew up that kid that was followed around Walmart, you know, the dirty trailer park kid that came across from the bad side of the tracks. Many of the people I know and grew up with have at least served in prison for some period of time in their lives, and most of which it was due to things that are just very minor. Most of the laws that we have that incarcerate people in this country are written at the state level, believe it or not. And in the state of Arkansas, it's estimated that the average citizen commits a felony every week, just unbeknownst to them. There are so many draconian laws on the books already that people get swept up into the system, and then they have no way to get out. It's like a rip current. Then you have almost impossible probationary rules and hoops that they have to jump through and stuff that just create recidivism, so that people end up back in the system, so that people end up back poor, so that people end up back incarcerated, so that people can never get out of the system and be able to improve their lives. So the judiciary is a big, important one for me because I see it as, you know, disproportionately affecting those that are poor or brown, or a combination of the both. Education and public services are also huge to me, and taxation. I know that our, supermajority in the state wants to get rid of income taxes for especially the wealthy, and they want to provide vouchers and do things like this. We all pay into this tax system, and very few of us get anything back out of it. We don't get any health care. We need something more to show for our tax dollars than a bunch of aircraft carriers. And don't get me wrong, I'm Navy, so pro aircraft carrier, you know what I mean? I love aircraft carriers, but don't get me, it's one of these things where the average citizen needs to get something in return for their tax dollars. We need to stop just rewarding the people that have already beaten the system. Congratulations, you've beaten the system. Your kids are going to do fine, your grandkids are going to do fine, and your great-grandkids are going to do fine, because that 5-generation ranch is worth 10,000 times more than it was when it was purchased back in 1935. I'm sorry, but, it's time to let everybody take part in the American dream. I'm just tired of it going to a short percentage of people who happen to have been born the right color, in the right demographic, and the right income level to be truly free. And that's all I've got.
Representative Tannehill Oxford, and again, just referencing the committees that the representatives serve on. Which committees are you interested in, and how would you prepare for some of those?
I would love to serve on the Education Committee. I think there is a lot that I could do there and that I could help with, and maybe just some tweaks. I'm not saying abolish the whole LEARNS Act. Some of it's good, like a little chunk of it's good, but there's a lot that we could improve on. Also, the judiciary is great too, because you're right. I have many friends who have spent time in prison. Once, twice, 3 times. They have nothing when they come out. Nothing. They have to start all over. It's not helping them. And then our governor has said that they have to finish, 90% of their sentence now before they can even qualify for parole or probation. That's not helping them either. And what if it's like a minor drug charge and they just kept getting in trouble? Why do we even put people in prison for weed? I mean, literally. I mean, I have friends in prison because they had weed on them. I'm sorry, it's mostly legal now. Why are these people not getting out? Why are we not compensating them and helping them start their life over? So those 2 would probably be some of my favorites to sit on. I know that, we'll get in there and we'll be the low men on the totem pole, so we'll just get stuck wherever they want us to be. But, we can have dreams. We can hope. It's just, just help. Again, it goes back to being able to help people, helping people live their life without government interference. Just being able to have a good house, a yard to play with their kids in. That's it. That's what people want. And that's what we should be working for as anybody running for a government job. That's all.
Thank you. Ms. Gonzalez-Worthing, so same thing. What would be your preferences for committee service and how would you prepare for those?
I would definitely be interested in education, health, and anything that ties into juvenile justice or child welfare. My background in education, I have seen some of the laws that have been passed. Well, first of all, you know, with the LEARNS Act, okay, that's one we've all talked about that. The funding of public schools. Right now, we have had who have seen consolidation in the rural sector, in our rural public schools. We've seen layoffs or not replacing people who are retiring, but those positions are still valuable to kids in school. For example, instructional assistants, you know, teacher assistants, helping the kids who have learning disabilities or they need a little bit extra time. They need to learn in a different way. They need more one-on-one. When you defund public schools, you're not going to be able to serve your kids as well as you would like to serve your kids. The other is being able to have after-school programs, summer programs. Those all kind of tie into the education aspect as well, along with our reading scores. It was mentioned earlier. We rank pretty low in how many of our kids are actually reading on grade level. It's worse than it was before COVID, and so we have a lot of work to do in those areas that I think I could really lend some light in. The other, I serve on the UAMS's Health Equity and Access Community Board, and I also serve on Arkansas Children's Hospital Natural Wonders Council, and have written grants in the area of mental health, in increasing mental health services. For example, trying to have more instructors that can teach mental health first aid in Spanish, for example, in our community. I've been engaged with a lot of that type of work, and I have that experience, and I feel that I can lend some light when it comes to that. And so by serving in the community on these various community boards or advisory councils, I feel that it helps me become more knowledgeable of what's happening on the ground and what we need to do in terms of policy to fill those gaps. And so those are the things that I would be very interested in, is the education piece, the health piece, and anything that ties into juvenile justice. So my campaign is all about strong schools, strong families, and a strong Springdale, and those are the areas that tug at my heart, and I just feel that that's what I can help with if I'm elected in the legislature. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez, same question about the service on committees. What would be your preference, and how would you prepare for that?
Well, let me preface some of my remarks by pointing out a theme that's gone on up here that maybe you heard or didn't hear. And that is that the very wealthiest in this state control the state. They control who goes into the legislature through their donations. They can control what laws are being written through their lobbying, and they also control what happens there because of their influence. I think we need to, as much as us that would like to serve on education, I think we need to get into other areas. My degree's in education, but I think I'd probably be better off in ag and helping the farmers, because I've been a cattle rancher for 35 years and know what some of those problems are. So does some of my folks down the road here. I think anything like health and human services, we need to get involved in that and find out why the poor people stay poor. I think there's a menace that's among us that's causing the suppression of people to remain poor so that they can have a low-wage workforce in this state. And we need to overcome that, and we need to point it out so that it doesn't continue. I'd like to also get involved in the judiciary, because I think that's just another workforce that we've created, and we're spending more money, quite frankly, on incarceration than we are on education, and that needs to stop immediately, if not sooner. I think everybody would agree on that. And all of those things that keep the public down are the reason that we need to take the elites in education, those people who send somebody else to buy their groceries or have their driver take them to wherever they're going. We need to help those people understand that the people that are really building Arkansas, building the streets, pouring the asphalt, putting the bricks on the buildings, are the folks that make this state what it is. And we need to make sure that we are protecting that human resource. Because whether they realize it or not, the people that work for them, the people that earn their low wages, are also, believe it or not, customers. They are consumers. And when they finally realize that the people that work for them are also their consumers, maybe they'll start understanding that if they paid a better wage, the consumers could spend more money and raise the GDP, and everything would start to go up. It's just unfathomable how we've allowed the legislature to become a puppet for the richest corporations and the richest people in the state, and suppress those of us that are at the very bottom, and encouraging immigrants to come here and stay at the bottom by making things impossible for them to reach. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you. Mr. Cook, same question about committee service. What would you choose and how would you prepare?
Well, there are so many committees. This is a hard one. I've got so many ideas. But first that comes to mind is insurance and commerce, because I intend to be the first soul in the door to file the first bill of this next legislative session to guarantee a real warranty of habitability for all rental properties in the state of Arkansas, so I don't have to keep seeing people live with mold and roaches and all sorts of things, because we can do better. I would hope to serve on judiciary, so we can file a bill to end criminal evictions. Arkansas is the only state in the nation where that is a thing. It's a Jim Crow era law passed in 1901 where a property owner can bring criminal charges against someone for being behind on their rent. And in 2017, they ended the jail aspect of it, but it's still a $25 a day misdemeanor fine. That's abhorrent, it's unacceptable, and it has no place in our society. It's the criminalization of poverty. I would hope to be on public health and welfare. You know, I grew up in poverty. You know, I was on Our Kids and Medicaid. So, you know, now that I'm in a position to advocate for better, I think that we need to be expanding our Medicaid access and not taking it away like they did to so many hundreds of thousands of people last year. I would hope to serve on the Education Committee, because I don't believe that we need to keep defunding our public schools. I wouldn't be sitting up here if it weren't for public schools, if it weren't for teachers and counselors and librarians and janitors who pushed me to be where I am today. We don't need to be defunding our schools. We need to be guaranteeing lunch for students. I hope to file legislation to eventually expand school lunches to cover all K through 12 students, because in a state like Arkansas, where 1 in 5 kids go to bed hungry, it's unacceptable that they're not guaranteed at least 1 to 2 nutritious square meals a day at school. You know, going back also to insurance and commerce, you know, we need not only do we need new regulation for our rental housing, we need to enforce the existing regulations that have been passed and are on the books, but they're entirely toothless. And so, you know, I want to sit down with renters and landlords and property owners and realtors and involve everyone in the conversation so that we can come to an accord and end this unbalanced state of affairs where, you know, folks live in a rental with no recourse, legally or otherwise. So there are lots of committees, lots of ideas, lots of areas for improvement. But, you know, I would hope to serve on insurance and commerce, education, judiciary, and quite honestly, you know, for a poor kid from Gravette, Arkansas, being on any committee in the state legislature would be the honor of a lifetime. Thank you.
So this is going to be a question from the audience. That was one as well. So Ms. Tannehill Oxford, we'll start with you. This individual says that DEQ, or Department of Environmental Quality in the state, says enforcement isn't their role. Will you work with them to have more teeth?
Can you repeat that one more time?
I will do my best, yeah. So this individual says DEQ says enforcement isn't their role. Will you work with them to have more teeth?
Yeah,
Department of Environmental Quality in the state.
DEQ should be the one enforcing this. Anything. It's literally their job. Environmental quality. I think we all want clean water. I know I do. I don't want to drink water that I have to boil, which some cities do. I have had to haul in my water before. So, yeah, I want that drinking water to be clean too, out of a spring. And you cart it to your house and you put it into your plumbing. I mean, literally, it's a lot, and a lot of families in my area have to live with dirty water from chicken house runoff, which is abhorrent. There's septic systems going into the White River and Goshen right now. So, I mean, our water needs to be clean. Our land needs to be clean. I'm not a fan of landfills either, but that's what we have to do right now. But yeah, DEQ is literally the department. It's the department, and they're supposed to be enforcing all these laws. I'm not really sure how to make them have more teeth in that because it's already there. This is a really hard question, but yes, clean water is a priority.
I'm sorry I did that to you last time. You
I
got
know,
the
I'm
tough
just
one
like,
to start. I didn't mean to do that.
But yes,
And that could just
Yeah,
be the answer.
yeah, I
No-
really
no
don't
worries.
have any way to put teeth in that other than just pushing that they regulate. I mean, that's really all you can do is that is their job and they should be doing it.
Fair enough. Ms. Gonzalez-Worthen. So again, the question is that DEQ says enforcement isn't their role, and so the question is, will you work with them to have more teeth?
Well, we certainly need to have clean water, clean air, and if they don't feel that that is their role, then there needs to be some checks and balances. So what is their role? And if they don't feel that it is their role, but in fact it should be their role, then maybe there needs to be some laws to help them do their role. In other words, again, the checks and balances. There's a checks and balance in everything that we do. In public schools, we're looking at the outcomes. Well, what are the outcomes of our air and water, our environmental quality? We have a lot of a lot of environmental agencies and nonprofits, et cetera, that I think that maybe what might need to happen is that we discuss this with everybody and see how can we make this clean, with the environment, and then even having some form or fashion of including that in education so that all of our students, as they're coming out of schools, they'll also be aware of how to maintain a good, healthy environment for themselves, for their families.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hernandez.
Arkansas is a natural state. We've called ourselves that for 40, 50 years now, and we've slipped from like 18th place down to 35th. We haven't gotten into the 40th places in our environment, but we've fallen, and it's embarrassing that we're the natural state, and yet here we are plummeting down the scale to a place where you have the DEQ saying that enforcement isn't their role. Well, obviously it isn't their role, or we wouldn't be down in 35th place right now. I think what has happened is they have started giving that role over to the counties, and the counties are already taxed to do a lot of that, and they're doing it without any sort of remuneration from the state. It's the same thing that they're doing with incarcerations. They're asking the the counties to do incarceration for the state and then paying them cents on the dollar of what the state actually, I mean, what the county actually pays to keep people incarcerated. So it's a matter of the government that's run by, right now, the Republican Party, stepping up and doing what's right for the people instead of stepping up and doing what's right for large corporations who are polluters, for large corporate farms that are our polluters, and for large industries that pollute our air. They're protecting those big corporations because they, quite frankly, are paying for that protection, you know? And we have to eliminate some of their loopholes and eliminate some of the things that they've managed to wiggle out of and put those things back in force so that we can put some teeth back into that enforcement. We need to get out from the 30s at least and get back into the 20s or the teens as far as a natural state, you know, or take that off of our license plates because we just haven't earned it lately. I'm a cattle rancher, and where I'm going to draw the line is if anybody comes out there with a cork and tries to cork up my cows so that they won't let out any flatulence, we may have to have a different talk. But I think the real offender here are the large production and manufacturing and agribusiness that wants to loosen up and slack up all of the regulations so that they can do whatever they want to, and that is a cost savings to them, and every cost savings that they have goes to the profit line, and that's all they care about is the profit line. They don't even care if they steal wages from their employees to put money on the profit line. So let's be clear what we're talking about here. This is becoming an economic war being waged on the poorest in our state, and we shouldn't stand for it.
Thank you. So, Mr. Cook, you want me to read the question again, or you feel comfortable where we're headed here?
I've got it.
Okay.
Yes, I would echo what Ray said. We are the natural state, and people come from all over the country and around the world to look at our rivers and see our forests and our scenic vistas, and we need to remain the natural state. You know, whose job is it to enforce environmental quality if not the Department of Environmental Quality? And so I think what also needs to be happening, other than just asking that question, you know, we need to sit down with the heads of these agencies and departments and ask, why are you not able to enforce environmental quality? Is it because you don't have enough resources? Do we need to give you more staff, inspectors, greater capacity to conduct investigations? Do we need to strengthen environmental protections and give you the legal teeth? Do we need to strengthen the existing protections and give you more resources? So if it's a matter of them being unable to enforce environmental quality, I think that that's a fixable problem. If they're unwilling to enforce environmental quality and push it on to local entities, then they need to be giving the local entities more funding to do that. But, you know, we need to keep all of our departments strong. They all have a mission of keeping Arkansas, you know, safe and healthy and pristinely beautiful. And we need to keep these agencies and departments strong and ask them what they need, and then work to fill that need. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Inchauspé?
Well, I think Ray hit the nail on the head. You know, we're getting what we pay for. And right now, the corporations are paying the most, and so they're getting what they want. You know, they're getting a situation where they can do what they want and face no repercussions for doing what they want. And they get that by paying for the, you know, like I said, they get it from lobbying, by doing these things, and by litigating a lot of times, by telling the Department of Environmental Quality that because in your mission statement, it doesn't specifically say that you have the authority to do this, therefore we say you don't, and we're gonna argue this and keep you in court and do whatever, all this kind of stuff. Well, you know, what it is it is a battle of who has the money in government. And so that's really the big problem. And so that's really the solution. Votes is what gets people into office. I haven't asked for any money. I've received $300 in donations total for my entire campaign, total. And that came from a teachers union. Otherwise, and I still haven't spent that money, so it's still sitting in an account. I tell people, keep your money, give me your vote. You know, we need to get money out of politics entirely. That's the big problem. you know? These polluters are gonna do what they wanna do as long as it's profitable for them to do it. They will do it and they will pay the fine, and as long as paying the fine is more profitable than doing the right action in the first place, that's what they will do. Because like you said, it's profit that matters. And that's because they're corporations, they're not people. Corporations don't breathe, they don't die, they don't sleep, they don't age. They get to do all this stuff, they get to exploit, they get to do everything with complete impunity. Human beings are the people that suffer the consequences from corporate profits. And so human beings, believe it or not, are the ones that have the power. In our nation, roughly 40% of our population doesn't vote at all. That's the issue. And we need to start doing things with actual teeth. We need to get people in office that'll say, if you're a corporation and you're not gonna follow the rules, we're gonna remove your corporate charter. You're not a corporation anymore, you know? We need draconian measures, because we're not dealing with little things. We're dealing with the water we drink, the air we breathe, the food that we eat. As long as it's more profitable for Walmart to ship cans of corn with lead in it, which is currently what's happening right now, they will do it. And it's, no, we can't put lead in our corn in the United States, but they'll buy their corn from China. And they don't care of the regulation. It says on the corn right now, known to have chemicals to cause cancer. That's the corn that you buy at Walmart right now. That's what deregulation does. That's what happens when people don't vote. That's what happens when we let corporations just run amok. I'm done.
Thank you all. That was a tough one. In Arkansas, we alternate years between our legislative and fiscal sessions. We're coming up, 2025 will be a fiscal session, so one of the important responsibilities of a state rep is being part of that budget process for many programs, agencies, and departments. What are your funding priorities, and what's your stance on taxes? And so Ms. Gonzalez-Worthen, it's back to you.
Funding priorities will be education, going back to continuing to fund our public schools at the rate that they need to be funded versus removing money and having those funds go to private schools. Private schools still have the capability of accepting whoever they want to walk in through their door to teach. In public schools, we're able and we serve every single student that comes through that door and every single family. In order to do that, we need to keep the public funds in public schools and not defund them. And so that will be the things that are gonna help our population and our families, such as the budget, the school budget, but additionally, we had I was served on the governor's task force for after-school programs and summer programs here several years back. That's something that's very needed, but it's never been funded. We need that as well. We know that helps keep kids learning. It helps keep kids safe. It helps working parents know where their kids are, and that will also help with increasing literacy, for example, during the summertime. So those are the areas that I would like to see in terms of the education piece, but also higher ed. We have a lot of people that want to go back to college, but they're not able to afford it. So having some dollars to help grow your own programs so that we have the individuals that are in place that want to become teachers, for example, or they want to become lawyers, or they want to become a nurse, which we have a dire need of. There's a lot of professions that we need in Arkansas, and if we can come up with a way to help grow our own students and families, then that's what I would like to see happen. Additionally, we have an issue with healthcare. Healthcare costs are still too high for a lot of our families. We need to try to help reduce the cost of healthcare. We also need to find more resources when it comes to mental health care. There's a big need for that in our community. We also need affordable childcare and quality childcare, and I mentioned that earlier. And so those would be the items that I would like to see attention to, because that is what's going to help maintain our schools to be strong, our families to be strong, and our community to continue growing, and also for that economic growth. If we have more trained professionals in our area, then that is definitely going to help our economic growth.
And I need to apologize, because I'd like to really capture the spirit of, I think, what this question was intending. I had asked you about your funding priorities, and you answered that very eloquently, but I think I'll give you a little more time and go again. Because the
Reclaim your
question
minutes.
really is, yeah, they can arm wrestle if they don't think it's fair. But how do you plan to approach the state budget, specifically funding it? And so they were asking about taxes and how will you support? So it's wonderful to know where your priorities of spending are, but I think it's truly like, how will you handle ensuring the budget is funded? Where will the money come from? And on that side, sorry. I was thinking the spending side, but I think it's on actually having the funds.
Actually having the funds.
And the question was about lowering taxes.
About lowering taxes. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Well,
I
that
missed-
wasn't you, that was
okay.
me, so thanks.
Well, we have, we still have a humongous surplus in our, in the state treasury. And so that will assist us in ensuring that we have the money to fund our budget. Additionally, just continuing to see ways in which we can collaborate among, for example, collaborate among entities such as, I'm thinking about like for the police, for example, for police, and social workers, and healthcare workers, and teachers. How can we collaborate to help reduce the cost of some of those services, whereas having everything just by themselves? And so I think that there's, you can ensure that you have your budget if you look at the big picture and see where collaboration can take place and where costs can be reduced. So I think that would be one way, is to looking at the overall budget, ensuring that we have that. But then if we don't have it, then let's look at what we have in surplus, because we do have millions in surplus, and so that can help to offset that.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Hernandez, again, this is more, how do you plan to
More,
approach the state budget?
where's the money gonna come from,
Yep,
right?
and funding it, and the role of state
I ask that-
taxes, and
I ask myself that
the
question every
increase or
month.
decrease?
Where's, no.
Where's it coming from?
You know, we are very fortunate to live in one of the few states that has to have a balanced budget. That's part of their, it's just written into how we run the state. And fortunately for us, it's created a surplus. Unfortunately for us, nobody agrees on what we're gonna do with that surplus, if anything. I think we're still suffering from Reaganomics in this state, because they seem to think that if you give tax cuts to the wealthiest corporations, that's gonna trickle down and magically fund the whole state. And it doesn't work that way, because any penny that goes up never comes down, because that's considered another profit. And we've already established that profit is one of the biggest motivators, profits before people. I think we need to look at the structure that we have for our tax cuts. The corporations have been very well blessed by the people they paid for to go to legislature and make sure that they got big tax cuts. And the people down at the very bottom are the ones that are having to pay the largest amount of taxes, and the ones that are having to fund the state. And they're the cause that we have such a surplus, because this state has increased in numbers. And it hasn't increased in numbers in the very wealthy, it's increased in numbers of those of us that are down there at poverty level or the working poor. So I think we need to look at the way that we structure our tax and get rid of the silly notion that you can give a one-time tax break to citizens, and somehow that offsets all of the spending that they had to do all year long. That tax cut just is worthless. We need to look at ways to create a living wage so people are actually earning more money month to month, rather than waiting till the end of the year to see what will be doled back to them from the state in the form of a tax break. I have a personal pet peeve about something. I hope this doesn't offend anybody in the room, but I think when somebody moves to this state and they become a resident and they take a job locally, that they should take their old state license plates off and put on an Arkansas license plate and start paying for the roads. I drive around and see way too many plates that are still from out of state, and I know they're living here, and I know they're working here, and I know they should have an Arkansas plate within 30 days of setting up residency here. But they're not doing it, and we're not enforcing it. I think we need to look at all of the kinds of ways that we tax people and find out that if there's areas that we just are quite simply not collecting the taxes that we should be collecting. That's all I've got for you.
Thank you. Mr. Cook, your approach to the state budget, specifically funding it and addressing taxes.
Yes. The hundreds of millions of dollars in the budget surplus was mentioned. And part of the reason why we have those hundreds of millions of dollars in surplus is because we're not adequately funding a lot of our agencies and departments and programs as fully as we should be. So step one is fully fund the programs we've already got, and then we'll see where we are left over after that. But Arkansas has one of the most regressive tax systems in the country. We have low income taxes. There's a bid to eventually eliminate the income tax because we have to have, by statute, a balanced budget, which I think is ultimately a good thing because it keeps us living within our means as a state. You have to get that money somewhere else. And so their solution is to have sky-high sales taxes. Arkansas has one of the highest sales tax rates in the country. And if they eliminate the income tax altogether, we're going to see what happened in states like Texas. You're going to see sales taxes and taxes on consumers go even higher. You're going to see vehicle registrations go up at the DMV. The cost to renew tags will go up because our state has to get that money from someplace. They talked about tax breaks going to the wealthiest people. I totally disagree with that. I'm a working class person. I have to stand in line to shop for groceries, and I pay more in taxes than a lot of the folks who got tax breaks earlier this year. I think that's totally wrong. If we're going to be talking about tax relief, which who doesn't love tax relief, we need to be giving it to working class folks. Everyday Arkansans need relief, and not those of us who are already doing very, very well, especially in a place like Northwest Arkansas. And so my solution, fund the programs we've already got, find ways to ease the tax burden on consumers by lowering sales taxes or even issuing exemptions for things like groceries, staple goods, and things of that, like they've done in other states, and then maintain our balanced budget by making the rich pay their fair share. Thank you.
Mr. Inchauspé, same question, just approaching the state budget and getting it funded and specifically relating to taxes.
Well, I have to say I agree with most of what I've heard so far. I agree that we need to, this budget, I think last time I looked at it, I think it was a 1.29 billion or the estimated up to 1.32 billion budget surplus, that they've already taken some of it out in school voucher programs and stuff. What we've done is we've created a tax system where the wealthiest pay the least amount and get the most benefit. And the poorest pay the most amount and get the least benefit. What I'm suggesting kind of turns that on its ear. What I would do is I would end the income tax on labor. Right now, we have two different forms of income tax. Income tax that you generate through your labor, i.e. my job, whether you're a CEO, a school teacher, or a bus driver, or a Burger King worker, you pay a tax on that labor. Meanwhile, you can also make income through capital gains. So if you have investments, your house, your whatever, and it goes up in property, and then you sell that property, and you make money on that property, that's capital gains. Right now, we tax both incomes at the same level, roughly. At $46,000 a year, you're taxed at roughly 3.9% in the new tax code for your labor. Same thing with capital gains, except because they put in write-ups for people that are investment class. You can write off part of your capital gains against your income so that you pay less income if you have capital gains. In fact, if you can make $10 million worth of capital gains income in one fiscal year, it's non-taxable at all. Isn't that a great thing? Who's that benefiting? You know, I'm wondering who the people are that are making is it you over here? You're making $10 million in one fiscal year? Okay. So what I would do is I would shift the tax burden entirely to realized capital gains, not property tax like where we speculate capital gains, but actual realized capital gains. When you buy low and you sell high, that profit you make didn't benefit your fellow man at all. It didn't create a job. It didn't do anything. If you're handing a Burger King burger out of a Burger King drive-through window, you are serving your fellow man at some level. If you're picking up trash, you're doing that in service. What this does by eliminating that labor income tax is it gives those people more month-to-month income that they spend in their communities. All of a sudden, they're a little bit less dependent on child care special programs. They're a little bit less dependent on all these things because they have a little bit more money. Maybe they can even take advantage of some of that money and join the investment class and start buying houses and doing those things so that they start paying taxes on their capital gains. In other words, let poor people take advantage of the economy the same way rich people are doing. That's all I've got.
Ms. Hill, Oxford. Yep.
These are some good answers. And I do agree with Billy. We have to use what we already have sitting there that we're not using to fund the programs that we need to fund. Then again, we can look and see what else we need to do. Income tax, it needs to stay. Again, there are other states that have eliminated their income tax. Everything is skyrocketed. Sales tax is skyrocketed. Washington, you go to get your tags and it's like $3,000. That would just blow me away. I would not be able to buy a new car, period. And I know that many people in my district would not be able to do that either. Because we are the working poor, as Ray said. I am the working poor. Billy is the working poor. Ray is the working poor. Diana might be a little higher than us. But you know, I was like, but we all.
I'm a teacher.
Yeah, I know. Maybe she is the working poor because she's a teacher. But yes, we have a surplus. We have tried to use that surplus to fund public schools. That was ex-NAID. It's there. Why are we not using it? We don't need a surplus just sitting there. We need to use it to help fund the programs that we need the most, like child care, education, health care in Arkansas. And it just blows my mind that right now we are not using it. We're just sitting on it. There are people who need help, and we're not using it. But the surplus would be a fantastic start to be able to see where we are at after we use it to fund these programs. And I really liked your capital gains idea too. That is a really good idea. I was just like, whoa, I hadn't even thought of that. But yeah, if you're going to tax people, why are you taxing the income they're bringing in from their labor? Why not on something they sell? My house right now is worth 3 times as much as it was when I bought it. I could sell it and pay some of that income tax into the state and help so many people. But we're not doing that. Like I said, the surplus is my main thing on this. Use the surplus, then see where we're at. But we could totally fund everything with that surplus. Thank you.
Michelle, I'm going to look to you time-wise. We okay to squeak one more? I know you want time to mingle too.
Start now. This will be the last question, and that might catch them for ending questions. How's the audience feel too? Stop now.
Because that gives you a chance to mingle and ask and work with them personally. Address, yeah. There's 3 great questions sitting here, but I hate to. We get booted out of here. There's a time limit before we turn into a pumpkin. But
We're not going anywhere. You can always write us and ask us what we feel about what you were thinking.
good. Well, gosh,
Some of us
y'all.
actually have our phone numbers on our on our websites. And
Oh, just for the hell of it, all these people answered vote for Ward 1 when I sit down questionnaire. Well, okay, 2 of them I'm still waiting on, but I have faith in them.
Say that again?
3 of y'all already answered, so I have faith in them getting back to you. I have proof.
Well, gosh, y'all, we can't thank you enough I said this last night, and it's evident again, you have hearts for people. And thank you for stepping up, for being willing to serve on our behalf. It's really a special, it's a gift. We can't thank you enough. Thank you for your candor, for your ideas, and again, best of luck in your elections as you go. Yeah, that'd be great. You bet. Yep.
Keep it to a minute.
So final points, anything you want to sum up? And
I
Ray,
didn't finish my story in the beginning.
we get to start with Ray, just to rotate. and
Where
keep
was I?
our
Oh, yeah,
system
back in
rolling.
1969.
That's right.
Let me say this. The people that you see up here are common folks, and not common in a bad way, but common in that we aren't, I don't have a great big house. I got a little ranch house, which a tree fell on during the tornado, and I raise cattle, and I work at a job. Even at my old age, I'm still working at a job. So it matters to me that we have a good quality of life here. I would like to be down in Little Rock with all of these folks because I trust them and I know that they'll do the right thing for their constituents. And in the case of Diana and I, we would be able to actually create the first Hispanic caucus in Little Rock in the legislature. Have I said enough? How much of my minute have I got left? 15 seconds, okay. I want to thank my wife and my God for allowing me to do what I'm doing right now. I really seriously did not want to run again. I even told Diana, I said, I'm not going to run again, and here I am, running again. But I think I would love to have more people step up and run for office. Do not be afraid of it. It won't bite you too bad, and you might enjoy the people that you meet.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cook. Yep.
Thank you again to the League and to the Fayetteville Library for having this forum. You do incredible work. I'm a big fan. If you are here and you live in House District 19, or if you're watching from home, I want you to know that I'm running to work for you. I'm running to protect your right to transparent government, keep your public schools strong, and give you safe and healthy housing. And elections are really just elaborate, expensive job interviews. And even if you aren't going to be voting for me, you can say I showed up to this job interview, at the very least, at the end of the day. And that's a real contrast. It would have been nice if you could hear both candidates' visions for this district, but you were denied that because one candidate did not show up tonight in this race. I hope I can earn the opportunity to earn your vote. House District 19 was decided by 646 votes in 2022. It was one of the closest races in all of Arkansas last time, and I guarantee you it is going to be one of the closest races in Arkansas this time around because I'm doing the work, I'm having the conversations, I'm raising the money necessary, and I'm meeting people where they are. And I think that's the essence of politics. Election day is November 5th. Early voting kicks off October 21st. The last day to vote is November 5th. I hope to earn your vote. Let's win in November.
Mr. Injospi. Yep.
Well, I want to thank everybody. I thank the League of Women Voters and the library. Again, I want to thank my family for standing by me when I'm doing this ridiculous attempt to try to bring common sense to government. I guess what I want to say is, I'm a real American. I wasn't born with a silver spoon. I grew up in poverty. I've lived in, I've been homeless as a child. We've lived in Indian reservations. We've lived in hippie communes. We've lived in abandoned barns. We've lived in abandoned buildings. I've always lived on the Arkansas River as my home river, from Salida, Colorado, kind of originally. Greensburg, Kansas, on the Arkansas River, all the way to Arkansas now in the Arkansas River. I live in the most beautiful state in the country. We are grateful every day. We love our homestead. We love everything about this place. What we don't love is the government here. What we want to make better is the ability for Arkansans to live the American dream, the dream that I lived. I grew up, I took part of the social programs that were existence for me. I got the GI Bill. I got an education. One of those people that was able to come up from nothing and generate a good living to this day. And I want that for everybody else.
Thank you very much.
For me too.
Ms. Dana Hill Oxford, a minute to summarize your key points.
Yes. Again, thank you to everyone here, online, the library, and the league. And again, I am just very blessed to have met everybody along on this campaign trail. It has been just a pleasure of a lifetime to do this and to show people that you can do it. If you don't think something's right, stand up for it. Stand up and tell them what you think is right. It's all you have to do. I've always been taught that, use your voice. Use your voice. Help other people. And that is my plan, is to help as many people as possible, whether it be in the state or in my community that I live in every day. I'm always going to work for the people of my community, whether it be in the community or in the State House. I hope to be in the State House because I can help more people. But yes, just my friends up here, they're amazing people, and I would love to go to Little Rock with all of them. They will work for the people. I will work for the people. I care. That is in my heart. I care. And my cell phone number is all over the place. It's 479-200-6845. If you have a question, a comment, a concern, call me. I'll answer it day or night. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Gonzalez-Worthen?
Well, thank you again for having us, all of us here. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you. Thank you for having us here. It's been a lot of fun here with everyone, and I'm running for State House District 9, East Springdale. I'll be advocating for strong schools, strong families, and a strong Springdale. I ran in this seat 2 years ago. I lost by 109 votes. The individuals that were going to vote for me, many of them needed some more education on how to do so, and that's what I have been doing, going door to door. You can count on me for really helping our families access more pre-K classrooms and literacy programs and after-school programs, summer programs, having them have quality childcare. These are all things that will help strong families. Also, reducing the gaps in teacher shortages, especially special ed teachers, multilingual teachers, growing our own teachers, and also access to health care. We have language access is a big, major challenge in District 9, having the Latino majority district in the state. And so access to health care, mental health care, you can count on me to advocate for all of those things, for strong schools, strong families, and a strong Springdale. Thank you.
Thank you all. Yeah, I'd be glad to.
I'm sorry, can I just say one more thing? I just wanted to be on a recording or whatever. If you're listening at home or whatever, please go to vote.org. Make sure you're registered. If you're not registered, please register. You know
Too
what I mean?
late. Yesterday was the deadline.
Oh, too late. Okay, sorry. My
Get
bad.
registered for the next time, though.
Yeah, but get registered for the next time. Yeah, that's it. Sorry.
But also, you can see your ballot and make a
Yes.
When we're running for reelection.
Right. There you go. Yeah, again, appreciate the league. They have been busy this week. This is the second of 3 forums, so there will be another forum on Thursday back here in the same room, 5:30. It's 4 more Justice of the Peace districts for Washington County Quorum Court, District 6, 7, and 10 and 14, so we'd love to have you back. And then switching gears tomorrow evening, we'll be at the Extension office at my house where I live. And we're going through the ballot issues. So again, we're really blessed in Arkansas that we have an opportunity to raise ballot issues that come from the citizens as well as the legislature. We have 3 proposed ballot issues. One's still teetering on the brink whether or not it'll be counted, but we'll find out. But we're going to go through that process to walk through what those are, what they mean. Sometimes the title is confusing and you already know which way you want to vote, but you misunderstand if a 4 is really what you wanted or not. So we'll clarify that, and it goes through, it's just unbiased explaining it of what supporters would say, what those opposed might say. It's been vetted, so again, unbiased, but just so you know, we just want to empower you with the knowledge so you can vote your heart. So not telling you how to vote, but just making sure you understand things. And we'd love to have you join us. The Extension office is right across from the main entrance to the county fairgrounds, so hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Again, thank the league for all that.
Thank you, Katie. Like I said last night, the candidates stood up here for a long time. They were in a hot seat, but Katie's been standing the whole time, so thank you very much. Please enjoy some snacks. We've got a great selfie frame out there. I'm a voter, or get registered voters, so, and we've got some information back there, so. Thank you again.
Come meet the candidates.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or unless you got another